Not every American city is safe for everyone, and for black communities, some places come with alarming risks. In this video, Miles and Hacks explores the top 10 most dangerous cities for black people in the United States right now. From rising crime rates and police brutality to systemic racism, housing discrimination, and racial profiling, these cities reveal the harsh truth behind inequality in the U.S. Whether it's daily violence, lack of community safety, or persistent racial inequality, some cities pose serious challenges for black residents. This is not just about crime. It's about the deep-rooted issues that make certain U.S. cities too dangerous for black people to live, thrive, or even survive. These are the 10 U.S. cities too dangerous for black people, where racial injustice and violence against black people remain urgent concerns. If you're thinking about relocating or just curious about how inequality shapes urban life in America, this list might just shock you. Watch to the end to see which cities made the list and why change is long overdue. Let's not sugarcoat it. There are cities in the United States right now where being black doesn't just mean living with pride, culture, and resilience. It also means navigating policies that profile you, neighborhoods that fail you, and systems that act like your existence is a threat. This isn't paranoia, it's data. It's lived experience. And today we're talking about it. This video isn't about fear. It's about facts. From racial profiling so constant it feels like background noise, to neighborhoods flooded with police but starved of opportunity, we're exposing the 10 most dangerous cities for black people in America right now. Plus one bonus city you probably didn't expect. If you've ever felt unsafe in your own city, if you've ever been treated like a threat just for walking home at night, this list might confirm your suspicions or shock you to your core. So hit that like button, subscribe to Miles and Hacks, and drop a comment if your zip code has ever made you feel like a target. Let's get into it. And 10. Chicago, Illinois. Chicago. The city of deep dish pizza, towering skylines, and legendary culture. But venture beyond the tourist-friendly zones, and the story changes fast. The South and West sides tell a different tale. One where gun violence doesn't care about city statistics. Yes, officials boast that crime is down in 2025, but ask the black residents of Englewood, West Garfield Park, or Austin if that's how it feels. Here's the truth. Over 80% of homicide victims in Chicago are black, even though black residents make up less than a third of the population. That's not just a disparity, that's a crisis. These aren't random acts of violence. They're symptoms of something deeper. Decades of redlining, school closures, underfunded mental health services, and job deserts have turned some neighborhoods into survival zones. You want to know what systemic racism looks like? In Chicago, it looks like a 30-year life expectancy gap between the city's richest and poorest areas. And yes, race plays a massive role in that divide. Chicago's black communities have heart. They've built culture, art, music, and resilience from the ground up. But that resilience shouldn't be mistaken for justice. Surviving your hometown should never be a badge of honor. 9. Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis gave the world soul music, barbecue, and blues. But today, too many black families in Memphis are singing a different tune, one written in fear, frustration, and survival. Let's keep it real. Memphis has one of the highest violent crime rates in the United States. But that burden isn't distributed equally. It lands squarely on black communities. Nearly 26% of black residents live below the poverty line. In these neighborhoods, it's not uncommon to hear gunshots at night and sigh with resignation, not shock. That's how normalized the trauma has become. And then there's the gentrification game. One minute, a neighborhood is full of black-owned homes and corner stores. The next, it's a haven for overpriced coffee shops and condos nobody local can afford. So we ask, can a city truly thrive if the people who built its soul can't afford to live there safely? Memphis is a city with deep roots. But those roots are tangled with injustice, and unless the city does more than paint murals and host festivals, the future will stay as fragile as the present. 8. Detroit, Michigan. Detroit was once a beacon of black excellence, Motown magic, union jobs, middle-class dreams, but what happens when the industries leave and take the future with them? Detroit today is a cautionary tale. With over 14,000 violent crimes reported annually, the city remains one of the most dangerous in America, and black neighborhoods bear the brunt of it. Nearly 30% of Detroit's black residents live below the poverty line. Entire neighborhoods sit empty, schools are underfunded, and the gap between struggle and support keeps widening. You'd think the city's rebound would center black families, but instead, we're seeing a remix of gentrification. One where coffee shops pop up, but mental health clinics stay closed. Detroit's spirit is unmatched. It has weathered bankruptcy, drug epidemics, and political corruption. But black families here aren't looking to just survive. They want to thrive. And that shouldn't be too much to ask. 7. Atlanta, Georgia. They call it the Black Mecca. And on the surface, Atlanta lives up to the name. Black mayors, thriving HBCUs, hip-hop royalty, and a whole lot of culture. But beneath the glam, there's a growing divide. Atlanta has one of the worst income inequality gaps in the country. A 2023 Brookings report showed that the average white household earns more than double what a black household does, in a city that's 47% black. Gentrification has hit hard. Long-standing black neighborhoods are being priced out and pushed out. Families that built communities for generations are suddenly being treated like they no longer belong. And violence? It's not just in the lyrics. Gang activity is real. Shootouts in broad daylight are becoming more common, especially in neighborhoods where opportunity is scarce and police protection is thin. Atlanta is both dream and nightmare. The soul is alive, but it's under threat. Until the city closes its income gap and truly protects all its residents, the title Black Mecca might need an asterisk. 6. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You don't hear Milwaukee in the headlines often, but it's quietly become one of the most challenging places to live for black Americans. Let's talk housing. Milwaukee is the most rent-burdened city in the Midwest. More than half the city's renters spend over 30% of their income on housing, and black families are hit the hardest. In a city where the cost of living should be low, black residents are forced to make impossible choices: rent or groceries, medicine or gas. Milwaukee also ranks near the bottom for black-white income equality. That's not a coincidence. It's a result of decades of redlining, employment discrimination, and education gaps. Add in failing schools, underfunded public transportation, and limited job access, and it's no wonder so many black families feel like they're hustling just to stay afloat. Milwaukee doesn't need a new brand. It needs real investment in the communities it's ignored for far too long. 5. Birmingham, Alabama. Birmingham carries the weight of history. This is where the civil rights movement fought some of its toughest battles. But in 2025, the struggle continues, just in a different form. The homicide rate in Birmingham is among the highest in the country, especially for black men between the ages of 18 and 35. Violence here isn't random. It's what happens when opportunities dry up, schools fail, and hope is stretched to its breaking point. This is a city with a legacy, but a legacy alone won't keep kids safe. And as long as black communities are left to fend for themselves, Birmingham will remain both a symbol of change and a warning of what happens when change stalls. 4. New Orleans, Louisiana, the birthplace of jazz. A city dripping with soul, but also a city drowning in bloodshed. New Orleans had the highest murder rate per capita in the country as recently as 2022. And the victims? Overwhelmingly young black men. The reasons are as familiar as they are painful. Systemic poverty, underfunded education, housing collapse, and broken trust between police and the people they're supposed to protect. Katrina didn't break New Orleans, it just exposed the cracks. And years later, those cracks have widened into craters. New Orleans can be beautiful. But for too many black families, the soundtrack isn't celebration, it's sirens. 3. Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore doesn't whisper its pain. It screams. Over 300 homicides a year, most of them young black men. For the 9th year in a row. Whole neighborhoods feel abandoned. Schools are underfunded, rec centers shuttered, and jobs nearly non-existent. Trust in the system? Gone since Freddie Gray's death in 2015. His story wasn't a fluke, it was a symptom. In Baltimore, black life too often means mourning before maturity. And until the city invests in healing, not just policing, the pain will persist. 2. St. Louis, Missouri. Let's be blunt, St. Louis is deadly. It has a homicide rate nearly 10 times the national average. The Del Mar divide cuts the city in half. White wealth on one side, black despair on the other. The disparities are so deep it feels intentional. Healthcare access, education quality, job availability, everything shifts depending on which side of the city you're on. And black residents almost always land on the losing end. Worse, there are over 1,000 unsolved murders, most of them black victims. In St. Louis, justice isn't just delayed, it's denied. 1. Jackson, Mississippi. This one might shock you, but the data doesn't lie. Jackson, Mississippi has the highest murder rate per capita in the entire country, 2 years in a row. And in a city that's 82% black, that means the danger isn't distant. It's personal. Add in brown tap water, broken infrastructure, and a state government that sent in white state troopers to restore order, and you've got a community on the brink. Black families in Jackson have survived hurricanes, floods, and systemic failure. But survival isn't living. And unless something changes fast, the city will keep breaking its own people. Bonus City, Oakland, California. Once a black cultural powerhouse, Oakland is now a cautionary tale. Skyrocketing rent has pushed out thousands of black families. Gun violence continues to surge. Police scandals have destroyed public trust. And gentrification? It's erasing history in real time. In Oakland, black people built the culture, but now they're being priced out of it. When the people who shaped your city can't afford to stay, something's gone horribly wrong. These cities aren't cursed. They're not broken beyond repair. But they are wounded by racism, neglect, bad policy, and economic exploitation. Black communities deserve more than survival. They deserve safety, dignity, and the chance to thrive. So what needs to change? That's the question. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this video. And don't forget to like and subscribe to Miles and Hacks, where we speak the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it gets. Because when you shine a light on the problem, you also show the way to the solution.